So you don't understand geometry nodes and want to know how to use them, but don't know where to start, and you are overflowing me with tutorial requests, please let me breathe. So here's how to start with geometry nodes in 3 steps. Fast! Plus a bonus step in the end. Step 1. Distribute instances. So at first we will add a cube, next we will scatter some points on the cube, then we will put some cube instances on the points, and then we will just randomize the scale and rotation. Create a new project, delete the default cube, add a cube, go to geometry nodes, create a new geometry node setup, and so at first we will need some points to distribute the instances on, so let's add distribute on points node. Now you can see we have some points, but the cube itself disappeared. To fix this, let's add join geometry node and connect the group input into it. Now it looks good, but we need to instance some cubes on it. So let's add instance on points node and also add cube and then just connect it to instance. But the cubes are way too big, so let's adjust their size. And you can do it either directly on the cube or you can adjust the scale on instance on points node. Okay, now we have some cubes, but they all look same. So let's just randomize them and we will start with rotation. To do this, let's add random value node and connect it to rotation. Now we can see the cubes are rotated, but we can still make it slightly better. So change it from float to vector. And why doesn't it work? Oh yeah, we have to connect it again. And why did I do this? See, when you have only float, it will give the same value to all 3 axes. But when you set it to vector, each axis will have its own random value. So you have more randomization. And now the rotation looks good, but let's also adjust the scale. So let's collapse this random value, Shift D to duplicate, and just set the values. And also let's make it float, so we have the same value for all 3 axes. Okay, now set the values, and let's just connect it. But now the cubes are way too big, so let's adjust the values. And now it finally looks good, and step 1 is done. Step 2, wireframe. Here we will take an icosphere, then we will turn it into wireframe, and lastly, we will add some glowing material. So again, create a new project and delete the default cube, add an icosphere, go to geometry nodes and make a new setup, and to create a wireframe, add mesh to curve node, and then add curve to mesh. But curve to mesh didn't do anything, because you still need to add a profile. So let's add curve circle node and connect it to profile curve. Now it's way too thick, so let's adjust the radius. And now it finally looks good, but we still need to add the material. Let me just spin it a few times. So let's add a new material, call it glowing, then make it cyan, and also set emission to cyan and strength to something like 10. Now it doesn't do anything because we still need to set it in geometry nodes. And to do this, add set material node and pick our glowing material. Now it applies the material, but it still looks a bit weird. So let's go to compositing and let's add some glow. Type glow and add for glow, and this should solve the problem. And to show it, let's click on this and set compositor to always. Now it's way too intense, so let's decrease the strength to something like 5. Still too strong, so 2. Now it finally looks good, and step 2 is done. Step 3, combine. We will use the one and only Stefan the monkey, then we will put some points on him, and lastly we will turn him into a wireframe. You already know this routine. Let's create a new project and delete the default cube, add a monkey, call him Stefan, go to geometry nodes and make a new setup, and we will start with distributing the points. Normally you would use distribute points on faces, but this time we want the points on each vertex. So to do this, let's delete the distribute points on faces, and before we do anything, let's add join geometry node and connect the group input. So we have the monkey. Now add mesh to points, connect the group input and connect it to join geometry. Now you can see we have the points on each vertex of the monkey. So let's just move this, and now we need to put some instances on the points. So let's add instance on points node, then add icosphere and connect it to instance. They are way too big, so let's decrease the radius, and now it's good. And maybe let's add more subdivision. But they still look a bit too big, so maybe let's decrease the radius even more. Now it looks much better. So now let's turn Stefan into a wireframe. So to do this, add mesh to curve, then curve to mesh, add curve circle, connect it to profile curve, set the radius, and maybe let's decrease the resolution. Now the base looks good, so let's add some materials. And to do this, add to each section a set material node, because we will put on the monkey 2 different materials. But we still don't have the materials, so let's create those 2 materials. So name the first one wireframe, make it black, set metallic to 1 and roughness to 1 as well, and then apply the material. Now you can see that only the wireframe is black, and let's create the material for the orbs. Let's call it glowing, balls, make it cyan, make the emission cyan as well, set strength to something like 2.5, apply the material, and again it looks weird, so let's go to compositing, add fog glow, and maybe let's decrease the strength. Again, to see the glow, click again on this and set the compositor to always. Now it's glowing, but it's way too weak, so let's increase the strength to something like 5. And now it looks good. But when you zoom into the balls, you can see that it's not smooth, so let's make it smooth. And to do this, add set shade smooth node and connect it before the set material node. Now it's smooth, and you can maybe do this even for the wireframe. Okay, that looks good. And also to keep it organized, you can put these nodes in frames. So let's select these nodes, press F, and let's rename it to distribute icospheres. We can do the same for wireframe. Select the wireframe nodes, press F, and call it wireframe. And for the step 3, that's and no, wait, I nearly forgot this. When you want to apply the geometry nodes, you will only get the wireframe, because you need to realize the sphere instances first. And to do this, add realized instances node, and now when you apply the geometry nodes, the spheres will stay there. And why does it happen? See, the sphere instances are just instances at the moment, but when you realize them, it will turn them into real geometry data. And step 3 is done. Bonus step, how to take it further. So you don't want to stay just there, but slowly explore more and more nodes. And let's say when you want to adjust the position, maybe you can add set position node, and then maybe adjust the position and it will lift the monkey up. But maybe you want to offset only the spheres, so let's add set position to icospheres, and it will lift the icospheres. But maybe you only want to lift some of them, so you can use selection, and for this add random value, set it to boolean and connect it to selection, and it will randomly select the spheres which should be lifted. And you can also change seed, but also, as I just showed you, keep in mind that where you put these nodes is very important, because if you put it behind the whole setup, it will update the whole setup. If you put it to some part, it will only update this part. So now it's all. God bless. Bye.